Did you know hedgehogs can't smile? Well, there are many things you may not have known about these little guys. Here are 10 hedgehog facts you never knew you needed, but now that you know them, you can't imagine living without. Hedgehogs are covered with spines, but under those prickly exteriors, they're soft and squishy like all of us. When they're born, baby hogs don't have any spines, and they stay skinless for the first 2 weeks of their lives. They start growing in when they're 2 to 3 weeks old and are completely covered in spines when they're 6 to 7 weeks old. The spines themselves are modified hairs and function like regular hair does. They grow out of follicles and have a blood supply, and just like our hair, they can become matted and tangled. The difference is instead of conditioner, they use oil from their skin glands to keep them clean. Those oils also make their spines waterproof. So even though hedgehogs aren't great swimmers, they won't get wet when they take a dip in a shallow pond. Some have even been observed shaking themselves dry after being underwater. While we're talking about their water resistance, there's another thing you might have noticed about their spines. They're hollow. And while scientists don't exactly know why this is, it seems to help the hog float. Floating helps them escape predators since most animals can't catch them if they're bobbing along on the surface. And it probably helps them swim. While it's unlikely they'd ever try it, their spine shape means that they'd float better than sink. Hedgehogs are native to Europe, Asia, and Africa, but today you can find them almost anywhere. Hedgehogs were introduced to New Zealand to control pests and to the US, Canada, South Africa, and Australia as pets. And yes, they do make good pets. They're clean, quiet, and gentle. Plus, they only need a few hours of playtime outside of their cage every day. But despite their adorable nature, you shouldn't get one unless you live in a warmer climate. Their natural instinct is to hibernate during the winter months, and lowering the temperature can put a lot of stress on them. Hedgehogs are also nocturnal. This means they like to sleep during the day and play at night. If you have one as a pet, you should expect to see them active around dusk and keep their cages in a safe, quiet area because they'll be more scared than active during the day. You probably didn't realize how long hedgehogs have been around, but they've been on this planet for a really long time. Fossil records indicate that they appeared during the Eocene epoch. This was between 56 million and 34 million years ago. In the Lacustrine period, which started 13 million years ago, they started to appear more frequently. During the Pleistocene epoch, which lasted from 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago, they diversified into several species. Since the Holocene epoch, which began 11,700 years ago, they've basically stayed the same, with fossils indicating that modern hedgehogs appeared around 40,000 years ago. And just like us, hedgehogs are mammals. This means they give birth to live babies. Most mammals have nipples, but hedgehogs don't. And they don't even need milk to raise their young. But don't worry, mama hogs got enough milk for the whole litter. They just don't have visible nipples. If you've ever wanted to learn more about animals, you've probably heard of Jane Goodall. She taught the world a lot about chimpanzees by living among them. It turns out she wasn't the first to study hedgehogs in the wild. That honor goes to a man named Philip Lutley Slater. He spent 3 years studying them in England in the early 1800s. He learned that hedgehogs are mostly solitary, except during mating season. They eat slugs, beetles, and earthworms and hibernate in the winter. There's a myth that hedgehogs huddle up and share body heat to survive the cold, but that's not true. They hibernate alone. Slater also helped us learn that hedgehogs don't live in holes. They don't dig burrows, but they'll move into an abandoned rabbit hole or other small animal burrows. They don't mind living in close quarters with other animals. Sometimes snakes will share their homes with hedgehogs. It's common to think of hedgehogs as small, round, and brown, but that's not always the case. There are 17 different species of hedgehog. One of the largest is the African pygmy hedgehog. These guys can weigh over 7 pounds and measure 3 feet in length. They can be found in burrows made by other animals or in gardens, where they'll happily feast on insects and small reptiles. Another type you may have seen is the white-throated hedgehog. They're gray or brown, have lighter undersides, and get their name from the white feathers on their throats. They're often shy and spend a lot of time hiding, but they'll sometimes come out to feed on insects and worms. Then there's the Himalayan hedgehog. They're medium-sized and live in mountainous regions of the Himalayas. There are many different types of hedgehogs, and it seems like every one of them has its own unique personality. Have you ever wondered if hedgehogs can swim? Now that you know their spines are hollow, you might think they'd be great at swimming. Surprisingly, they're not. They can swim, but only if they have to. They hate water, and this is another reason they're great pets. They'll never want to take a bath, so you won't have to worry about giving them a sponge bath. If they get dirty, they'll roll around in the sand until they're clean, or they'll cover themselves with leaves. As for why they're such poor swimmers, it could have something to do with their legs. They have 5 toes on their front feet and 4 on their back. This makes it hard for them to paddle through the water. Also, they're so cute when they try. When you picture a hedgehog, you probably imagine something round, brown, and no bigger than a basketball. You may be surprised to hear that there are lots of hedgehogs who are much bigger than that. The giant African hedgehog is the largest species and can reach a weight of 9 pounds. They have coarse spines, which is why they don't make very good pets, and prefer dry, open grasslands. Another large species is the Indian hedgehog. It's medium brown with narrow stripes running down its back. It's also called the white-bellied hedgehog because, well, it has a white belly. You might also be familiar with the European hedgehog. It's the most common species in Europe and the UK. It's also kept as a pet and has shorter, finer spines than some of the other species. Now that you know hedgehogs come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, you may be wondering if there are any unusual ones. Luckily, there is. A rare color mutation causes albino hedgehogs to have pink skin and no pigment in their eyes. There's also the long-eared hedgehog. Their ears can grow to be 3 inches long, and they're sometimes called desert hedgehogs. They have longer spines and lighter fur than most other hedgehogs. Another unusual species is the Philippine pygmy hedgehog. They're critically endangered, which means there may not be many left in the wild. They're extremely small, only about the size of a golf ball, and are found only in the mountains of the Philippines. There are many threats facing hedgehogs today, but they've survived a lot in their time on this planet. Hedgehogs are threatened by habitat loss, wildfires, and traffic. They're also getting hit by cars at an alarming rate. Maybe you've even hit one. Because they're nocturnal, they're difficult to see at night. Most people don't realize how common it is to hit one when driving at night. People in Scotland are hitting them at such high rates that there's even a charity dedicated to rescuing them. According to BBC News, 274 hedgehogs were rescued in 2018. In 2017, that number was 197. In 2016, it was 153. That's a big increase in just 2 years. How fast can a hedgehog run? If you think they're fast, you'd be wrong. They can run at speeds of 4 miles per hour. Now, that may seem pretty fast, but it's not too impressive if you've ever seen a dog go full speed. And it makes sense that they don't run very fast. Hedgehogs aren't built for speed. They're short and squat, and their spines make it hard to run. The average person can run faster than a hedgehog, but some people would lose a race against them. And you may be wondering if hedgehogs are slow because they're lazy, but they're actually very active at night when they're hunting for food. They're just not great at running. Which fact surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fun facts.